Today's video, we're going to be checking out the new NECA Toys God of War 4. This is Kratos. Let's find out how tall Kratos is. The tape measure tells us he's close to about 8 inches in height. Let's first have a look at the accessories, and then we'll have a look at Kratos. For starters, he comes with a dagger, which is really nicely crafted. It looks like it's been carved and forged from perhaps like a bone. It's been wrapped off on the end there, and it's got some additional roping. It's got some really fantastic coloring here, almost an airbrushing added of some brown, otherwise a more kind of cream-colored beige blade. You can either fit it into his hand, although his hand is awfully large, so ultimately just kind of slides through and ultimately onto the floor. Or what you can also do too is we move his arm out of the way. There's like a little sheath just at the back of him, and if his arm is completely out of the way, you can take the dagger and slide it very easily into place. And there's so much stuff going on the back of Kratos's cloth here, his almost like skirting that he wears, that you would almost think some of these other accessories could be removed. Unfortunately, none of that be the case except for the dagger there. His other accessory is the Leviathan axe, which looks fantastic. Again, looks crude in its design, but also has some really fantastic etchings in the blade portion. There's also some kind of scripture or artwork that's added to the actual handle portion. And you've got some wrapped bandages kind of down at the bottom there as well. A nice little deco is the additional head, what looks to be a head of a horse. And again, it actually looks like it's got a wood grain. It looks really, really nicely done. That fits very easily into his hand via either prying his fingers apart, or what you can also do too is it can detach from itself. So it would be a lot easier just to slide it in by its halves and then connect its way on the other end there. And when you're putting it in place, it doesn't feel like it sits straight. You have to almost put it in on an angle, and he holds the axe very well in hand. And last of his accessories, the last of the 3 accessories to come included with the figure, he's got this impressive looking shield. Just shy of a few of the additional wear kind of darker brown areas that have been dry brushed over top of it. Other than that, it's just kind of this copperish gold color on the one side until you flip it around. It's got this extra additional cranberry red, which really pops against the individual little almost scalings of the shield itself. It really has a fantastic look design to it. Now the shield cannot be housed anywhere on Kratos' back. I thought there would have been something similar on the back as there was on the front. There's this little looplet which I thought initially the shield could somehow attach itself to. I suppose it could, if you could maybe fit it in between there. But I don't know 100% if that's the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't doesn't really look like it sits as well as it should into that little looplet here. So the alternative is, obviously he's going to need to hold it, but whereabouts could you be able to peg this? Well, if you go ahead to the arm area here, you'll see that there's one section that has a noticeable lip to it. You have to grab it with your finger. This would be one thing I would be mindful of. Make sure you don't lose this piece. But when you remove it, you've got a slotted area in which the shield, you take the shield and you'll notice one little part sticks out further from the other. It actually kind of looks like a saucer section of a starship. And that tabs itself right into that little groove, just like so. And the shield now stays perfectly in place. It's a nice workaround from a loop, obviously, where you'd have to feed the arm through. And again, the shield's not going to go anywhere on you. Downside, of course, the only downside is making sure you don't lose this. It's small, so if you ever display him, obviously, with the shield on his arm, make sure you put this somewhere, like in a bag or something, so you don't accidentally lose it. Let's go ahead and take the shield off. Take the axe out of his hand. There we go. And you know what? As quickly as I said that, I'm going to remind myself to go back and put this in before I forget all about it. There we go. Okay, so having a look at Kratos. It's been a long time since we've gotten ourselves a Kratos. We did get ourselves an Ultimate Kratos, I think a year or two, perhaps 2 years ago. But this is the new Kratos from the God of War 4, which I am super excited to pick up. I've always been a big fan of God of War and love, despite the fact that Kratos now sporting a full beard, I still think he's got such a great look and design to him. Now this Kratos has a little bit more age under his wing. Of course, he dressed a little bit more like a hermit in the fourth installment. But what a fantastic looking figure. Like NECA really, I'm probably going to say this a couple of times, I would almost consider this, even though we are really early into 2018, this could potentially be figure of the year. It's that good. Not only is the detailing fantastic with a sculpt that nails a perfect Kratos, but like just the level of coloring that has been added to all these little areas of this. Especially again, like when you look at this area here, look at all the individual colors between the little pockets and pouches, the horn, again, like these little bags and stuff like that all around his outfit. Everything on here seems to be its own color. And very few of the items are sharing their own similar colors. They all seem to be unique to one another. Let's have a look at his face. His face is really nicely done. Still looks like Kratos, but again, a much more older looking Kratos. The paler skin, now with the additional shading, they've added this kind of purpley gray, not only in the neck areas, but basically anywhere around like the muscled areas of his body. The beard has a little bit of gray going into it and nice sculpting in the beard. Like you can really, looking at his eyes, you can really see that there's a story that this guy could tell. The red carried over. Seems like it's a little on the faded side on either side of the striping, but otherwise it's pretty clean and pretty concise. It's very, meticulously applied. Gets a little also paler, where like the darker red areas seem a little darker in some areas, and on the shoulders, for example, seems a little bit lighter. But again, those are just little small nitpicks. His shoulder area here appears to be a separate applied. It doesn't look like it could be removed, granted, but it does have the option to be moved, which I do like. So it does feel like it's its own floating piece. It's not molded into the torso, for example. And just a multitude of different pattern textures added. Like if you look at the areas of the belt, you can see it's almost got like a scroll work here. And then when you get to the shoulder area, you've got the checkerboard cross hatching, which is really nice. Again, there's the back of it right there. My favorite thing about the figure, and I've mentioned this already, is this part right here. A lot of stuff happening right here. And I would just love to be able to like take this off, for example, take the bag off. You probably could. I mean, they're very loosely attached. You could probably just pry them off, but I don't know why you really would. It's just so tempting. When a sculpt on a figure is this good, you're just so tempted to look closely at the pieces and say, oh, geez, I'd love to take this off. I wonder what's in here. I mean, that's the mark of good sculpting on a figure. You have the front cloth, and underneath it is his military sort of cloth skirting. And it's got these little gold rivets and almost like a dry brushing added to the otherwise cranberry red. Then you've got the longer boots, which is something else that he didn't carry over from his original adventures. But I think they look quite good as well. A mixture of different darks and lighter browns. And the undersides of his feet. By the way, peg holes on the undersides of Kratos' feet. So you can pose this guy in a multitude of different poses, I should say. By the way, speaking of poses, this guy has 36 points of articulation. Let's go through that together. His head rotates all the way around. And you can hinge that back and forth. Might I also add, you can really move his head considerably high back, well, high up. So it gives you some additional ways to, again, display him. Really low looking or really high, as if he's about to fight something much bigger than him. I'm certain Kratos will probably win. Articulation on the shoulders. The biceps also rotate all the way around. The arms also can do a full rotation. He's got not one, but a double hinge happening in the elbow, which can give you almost a complete bend where it almost touches itself in the bicep area here. Love the additional silver that's added to these little platelets on his gauntlet. It almost comes across like it's got a little bit of a blue tint to that as well. Hands rotate all the way around. A hinge back and forth. When we get to the upper torso, torso has its own ball joint. It looks like the ball joint serves also as your waist swivel. I don't think there's a secondary hinge in there, so you've just got that straight swivel once, working also as a ball joint. Legs split out. The skirt, luckily, is soft enough in plastic that you can afford using the legs to almost to their full extent. I wouldn't want to probably bend them any further than that, but you get the idea that they do have a considerable amount of posability. Skirt doesn't seem like it's getting in the way of things. He also has a top swivel cut on the thigh area. It looks like it's on the top portion of the thigh. He has not one, but two hinges in the knee. And then we get to the foot area. This is what really impresses. You have your ankle rocking, you have your forward and back, but then you also have a hinge in your foot as well. Not your foot, his foot. So between the two, keeping in mind you could bend the toe here, you could angle the foot here. Again, you can get some really cool looking poses, providing you're somebody that probably can do a little bit better job posing this than I can. I love this figure. Mind you, I've always loved the NECA releases of Kratos over the years, despite any problems that may have occurred between bootlegs that you can find online, or the problems with clear pegs, which I think were notorious for those figures back in the day as well. Always been a big fan of the NECA releases of the Kratos figures, big fan of the Ultimate release that we got a few years ago, and now the release here of God of War 4 Kratos. I can add this one to my collection. The figure turned out better than I had hoped. Mind you, it doesn't come with a whole bunch of different accessories. Interchangeable hands could have gone a long way as well, but I think just shy of foretelling the future, I could see myself at the very end of this year, 2018, calling God of War 4 Kratos here. If not the figure of the year, at least, at the very least, making the top 10. NECA has outdone themselves with giving us not only a superposable version of Kratos, again, the color is what blows me away the most on this figure. This guy has multitudes of different paint applications, colors varying from one to the other. It definitely feels like they put a lot of time, a lot of effort into getting this guy released, and I'm super thrilled to finally have him in my collection. Today we were having a look at the NECA Toys God of War 4. This was Kratos, Figure of the Year, possibly within, I'd say, the top 10 figures of 2018. For fans of God of War, you may want to add this one to your collection, and if you are planning on picking up God of War 4, let me know down below in the comments section. I'd like to meet also other big fans of God of War. If you guys also haven't had a chance to hit that little subscribe button down below, make sure you do so. Many more videos will be coming your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.